Hey, what's up, soccer fans? Welcome back to Soccer World, the coolest channel on YouTube for all things football. I'm your host, and today we're going to take a look at some of the most ridiculous red cards in football history. You know, those moments when players lose their minds and do something so stupid that they get sent off the pitch. Some of these are hilarious, some are shocking, and some are just plain dumb. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. Let's go! We start off with a classic case of Shorts temper. Get it? Shorts temper. Anyway, this happened in a World Cup qualifier between Bosnia and Greece in 2016. Bosnia were leading 1-0 when their star striker Edin Dzeko went down under a challenge from Socrates, the Greek defender. Socrates tried to get the ball from Dzeko, who was not happy about it. So, to make matters worse, Greece scored a late equalizer and denied Bosnia a crucial win. Dzeko later said he was sent off for no reason, but we all know the real reason. He was sent off for being a pants. Next up, we have a legendary defender who lost his cool in a heated FA Cup tie between Liverpool and Arsenal in 2002. Jamie Carragher was one of the most reliable and professional players of his generation, but even he had a moment of madness in this game. Arsenal fans were furious with the referee for sending off two of their players, Keown and Bergkamp, and started throwing coins and other objects at the Liverpool players. Carragher was hit by a coin and decided to throw it back into the crowd. Big mistake, Jamie, big mistake. The referee saw him and gave him a straight red card for his dangerous action. Carragher later apologized and avoided a misconduct charge by the FA, but he still had to face a police warning and a fine from his club. Not worth it, Jamie, not worth it. Moving on to number 8, we have one of the dirtiest players in football history. Kevin Muscat was notorious for his brutal tackles and violent conduct on the pitch. He was once named the most hated man in football by a British newspaper, and he lived up to that reputation in this derby match between Melbourne Victory and Melbourne Heart in 2011. Muscat went in with a horrific two-footed challenge on Adrian Zara, a young winger who had just broken into the first team. Muscat's studs were aimed straight at Zara's knees, and the impact was so hard that Zara did a full front flip in the air before landing on the ground in agony. Muscat was rightly sent off for his atrocious tackle, which could have ended Zara's career. Luckily, Zara recovered from his injury and continued playing, but he never forgave Muscat for what he did. At number 7, we have one of the most controversial defenders of all time. Pepe was known for his aggressive style of play and his tendency to lose his temper on the pitch. He was involved in many incidents throughout his career, but none more shocking than this one against Getafe in 2009. Pepe had already been booked for a foul when he tripped Getafe's Javier Casquero in the box, conceding a penalty in the process. Pepe was furious with himself and decided to take it out on Casquero by kicking him twice while he was on the ground. And if that wasn't enough, he also stamped on Casquero's back and then pushed another Getafe player who tried to intervene. The referee had no choice but to send Pepe off for his violent rampage, which earned him a 10-game ban by the Spanish FA. Pepe later apologized and claimed he had blacked out during the incident, but that didn't excuse his behavior. Coming in at number 6, we have one of the most charismatic and talented players in football history. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a superstar who could do amazing things with the ball, but he also had a reputation for being arrogant and provocative. He was not afraid to speak his mind and challenge anyone who crossed him, including referees. In this Champions League match between PSG and Chelsea in 2015, Zlatan was sent off for a tackle on Oscar, the Brazilian midfielder. Zlatan went for the ball, but he was late and caught Oscar's leg with his studs. It looked like a yellow card offense at most. Zlatan was stunned and angry, and he argued with the referee and the Chelsea players before leaving the pitch. He later called the referee a joke and said that the Chelsea players were babies who acted like they were dying. PSG still managed to eliminate Chelsea on away goals, thanks to a heroic performance by their 10 men. At number 5, we have one of the most iconic and infamous red cards in football history. David Beckham was a young star who played for Manchester United and England, and he was one of the most popular and talented players in the world. But he also had a temper, and he let it get the better of him in this crucial World Cup match against Argentina in 1998. England and Argentina were tied at 2-2 when Beckham was fouled by Diego Simeone, the Argentine captain. Beckham fell to the ground, and as Simeone walked away, Beckham flicked his leg out and kicked him in the calf. It was a petty and childish act, and it cost Beckham dearly. The referee saw it and gave him a red card, leaving England with 10 men for the rest of the game. England eventually lost on penalties, and Beckham became a national villain. He was booed and abused by fans and media for years, until he redeemed himself with his performances and goals for England in later tournaments. Next up, we have one of the most controversial and cunning red cards in football history. Luis Suarez was a brilliant striker who played for Ajax, Liverpool, Barcelona, and Uruguay, and he scored some amazing goals in his career. But he also had a dark side, and he was involved in many scandals and controversies on and off the pitch. He was accused of racism, biting opponents, diving, and cheating. And he did all of that in this World Cup quarterfinal against Ghana in 2010. Uruguay and Ghana were tied at 1-1 in the last minute of extra time, when Ghana hit a corner kick. The ball was headed towards the goal, where Suarez was standing on the line. Suarez did what any desperate defender would do. He used his hand to block the ball from going in. He knew it was a red card offense, but he also knew it was better than conceding a goal. The referee saw it and gave him a red card, and awarded Ghana a penalty kick. He walked off the pitch, while Ghana were devastated by his cheating. Asamoah Gyan, the Ghanaian star, stepped up to take the penalty kick that would have sent his country to the semifinals for the first time in history. But he missed it. He hit the crossbar and the ball bounced away. Uruguay survived and won on penalties, while Ghana were heartbroken. Suarez later said he had no regrets about his handball and that it was the hand of God. At number 3, we have one of the most shocking and sad red cards in football history. Zinedine Zidane was a legend who played for Juventus, Real Madrid, and France, and he was one of the greatest players of all time. He had won everything there was to win in football, including the World Cup in 1998 with France. He decided to retire after the 2006 World Cup, where he led France to the final against Italy. It was his last game ever, and he wanted to end his career on a high note. He scored a penalty kick in the first half to give France the lead, but Italy equalized soon after. The game went to extra time, where Zidane had a chance to score again with a header, but it was saved by the Italian goalkeeper. Then came the moment that changed everything. Zidane was walking back to his position when Marco Materazzi, the Italian defender, said something to him that provoked him. Zidane turned around and headbutted Materazzi in the chest, knocking him down to the ground. It was a shocking act of violence that stunned everyone watching. The referee saw it on a video replay and gave Zidane a red card, sending him off for his final act as a player. Zidane walked past the World Cup trophy as he left the pitch, knowing he had ruined his chance to lift it again. France lost on penalties, and Zidane's legacy was tarnished by his moment of madness. At number 2, we have one of the most outrageous and infamous red cards in football history. Eric Cantona was a genius who played for Leeds United, Manchester United, and France, and he was one of the most influential and charismatic players in the world. He was adored by Manchester United fans for his skills and goals, but he was also hated by rival fans for his arrogance and attitude. He was a rebel who did not care about the rules or the consequences of his actions, and he proved that in this Premier League match against Crystal Palace in 1995. Cantona had already been booked for a foul when he kicked out at Richard Shaw, the Crystal Palace defender who had been marking him tightly. The referee saw it and gave him a red card, sending him off the pitch. Cantona was furious and walked towards the tunnel, where he was greeted by a barrage of insults and abuse from the Crystal Palace fans. One of them, Matthew Simmons, ran down to the front row and shouted something at Cantona that made him snap. Cantona leaped over the advertising hoardings and launched a flying kick at Simmons, hitting him in the chest. He then followed it up with a series of punches before he was restrained by the security staff and his teammates. It was a shocking act of violence that caused a huge uproar in the football world. Cantona was banned for 8 months by the FA, fined by his club, and convicted of assault by a court. He later said that his kick was a great feeling and that he had no regrets. And finally, we have the most ridiculous red card in football history. This one is so absurd that it's hard to believe it actually happened. It involved Kieran O'Regan, a midfielder who played for Huddersfield Town in the 3rd tier of English football. In a match against Mansfield Town in 1991, O'Regan was having a bad day. He had already been booked for a foul when he committed another one in the second half. The referee, Kelvin Morton, decided to show him a second yellow card and send him off. But here's the twist: Morton had forgotten he had already booked O'Regan earlier, and he thought he was giving him his first yellow card. So he showed him the yellow card, then put it back in his pocket and then realized his mistake. He then took out the red card and showed it to O'Regan, who was baffled by the whole situation. O'Regan protested and argued with Morton, who was adamant that he had booked him twice. But he hadn't. He had actually booked another Huddersfield player, Efe Onora, for the first foul, and he had confused him with O'Regan. The two players looked nothing alike, except for the fact that they both wore number 8 on their shirts. Morton had mixed up their names and numbers, and he had given O'Regan the most unfair red card ever. O'Regan later said that he felt like crying and laughing at the same time, and that he could not believe what had happened. He also said that Morton never apologized to him or admitted his error. Morton was suspended for 2 weeks by the FA for his blunder, and he became known as one of the worst referees in football history. And that's it for today, football fans. I hope you enjoyed this video of the 10 most ridiculous red cards in football history. Which one did you think was the most absurd? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified of our future uploads. We have more awesome videos coming your way, so stay tuned. Until next time, this is Soccer World signing off. Peace out.